Who was my childhood hero? Who is my childhood?
What a great question, first of all.
Golly, why haven't I prepared an answer to that? That is such a no-brainer. That is like a question, of course I'm going to be asked. All I can say is the shows I enjoyed watching, The Wild Wild West was one of my favorite shows back then. I was not a comic book fan. I didn't know anything. I know, shame. You should have just seen the expression he made. His eyes, he went. And when they came to me about the Flash, I said, "You mean Flash Gordon?" Now, of course, if anybody says that to me, I go, "No, the Flash." You know, I think it's something. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm interested to know who some of your child. Iron Man. Very good choice. Very good choice. What about yours? Hulk. All right, we got an Iron Man and a Hulk here. Is Central Casting in the house?
We got Team Marvel. Where's our DC people at? So we have a gentleman here who has a question.
In your series, I really love the alternate, well, not the possible alternate storyline of that superhero you brought in from the 50s, the Nightshade. I was wondering if you would talk about that.
The great late Jason Bernard. His son, Jason Bernard Jr., is on Twitter, and I remain in contact with him. I always get warm all over when I think about that episode, because in the same way that Jay Garrick is Barry's mentor, sort of, in the new show, Nightshade was my Barry's mentor. And not only as a character, but as an actor. There's nobody better than Jason Bernard. And getting to play those scenes with Jason Bernard, it will always be one of my absolute, or a couple of my absolute favorite episodes, Deadly Nightshade.
Well, from the 1990s episode, or the series, what was your favorite episode that you enjoyed doing? Who was the villain that you really enjoyed working with?
Mark Hamill. I mean, he was so incredible. I'll tell you one thing that was very interesting was doing the Pollux episode, where I was the Blue Flash and the Red Flash, because I had never done scenes with myself, a typical actor's choice, right? Anyway, and I had this great stuntman, Dane Farwell. I was Barry Allen. Once we got in the suit, Dane Farwell, my stuntman and stunt double, was as much the Flash as I was. And sometimes we were both in red suits at the same time, creating special effects. But anyway, he would watch me, and of course, I did the Pollux scenes first, because Barry was being reactive to what Pollux was doing. Barry was like, get out of my face. The Pollux is going, "Oh my God, I know who I am now," right? And so I did all of that. And he watched me. And so that when the camera turned around, he mimed every action that I did when I had to react to what I had done before. Now, the hours in that episode almost killed everybody, because I was in every minute of that show. But stop and think about this now. Here's a part of Barry that he doesn't trust, he doesn't like. Here's this genetically engineered part of himself. Again, he's like, this guy's a freak. Amanda is saying, he's like a child, Barry. Don't freak him, don't spook him. He doesn't know who he is. He's looking for an identity. Barry says, he's a freak, get him out of here. What ends up happening at the end of the series, this part of himself that Barry didn't trust ends up taking the bullet for Barry at the last minute. And this part of himself that he disliked and didn't trust ends up, having taken the bullet for him, dying in his own arms. There's a lesson in that. You better be careful what parts of your character and personality you estrange or you ask to have removed. Because your character defects are the flip side of your assets. That's where my actor's brain and actor's heart goes. So I really had enjoyed doing that episode.
We have another question here.
Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, darling. Thank you for that little,
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Right. I would like to know about the man behind the mask. What does John Wesley Shipp believe in? What is your causes in life?
Well, I'll tell you, and I'm going to limit, I have many. And anyone who's ever been on any of my social media other than Instagram, where I keep it totally personal and career. Knows what that is. But let me tell you about Comic-Con. And let me tell you about what I believe in about Comic-Con. We all come here, we have different beliefs, we have different politics in a very divided nation. We all have our own egos and insecurities. We check all that stuff at the door. None of that comes in here. And we get to relate to each other person to person. I cannot tell you the things that I have learned about y'all in these appearances. The times that someone will come and say, I used to watch your show with my dad and he died last year, dissolve into tears, and I'm holding this person because they are giving me the privilege of seeing who they are, you know. And so we have a direct line to each other built around our love for this pop cultural art form. And that's what it's all about. I call it as, not a safe space, I call it a sacred space. Because we get to be who we are in here. And we get to relate to each other, human being to human being.
Great question. Thank you. I wanted to know, what is your dream role? What is the one role that if you could...
One?
Anybody, yeah, which one? Top one.
You know, I was talking to my agent. I said, I want to do To Kill a Mockingbird somewhere. I don't care where. Before I die or get too old, I want to do Professor Higgins in My Fair Lady. It could be at the every other Wednesday night musical theater group in Waddy, Paytona, Kentucky. You know, I want to do it somewhere. And I know there is a Waddy, Paytona, Kentucky because I graduated from high school in Louisville. But there are two roles I want to do. You know what I really want? And I've gone through my career looking for pieces, whether it was daytime TV, Broadway, independent film, whatever, that have something to say from the heart, you know? And those are the roles that I get because those are the roles that I'm interested in. Listen, young people, your interests, pay attention to what you're interested in because your interests point the way to your talents and your abilities. And so, regardless of what the medium is, I try to find roles where I can bring my heart to it. Because connecting, as I said earlier, with people on a heart-to-heart level, you know, is one of the most special things. It's authentic. Thanks.
Okay, one more question here.
I know that you had a brief shot on Elseworlds this past year. The major question, which I know a lot of the online fans have been asking, is if you're going to be back for Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is coming out later this year. Basically, as not only Jay Garrick, but also as your original Barry Allen character.
Think of the possibilities.
Follow-up question, is there an NDA that we can't really have in this conversation?
Now, you said to tell you if there's something I couldn't talk about. I said I was very skillful.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
No. I said it's okay. I'm very skillful at talking around an answer.
Indeed.
I'm going to demonstrate that right now.
Outstanding.
Think of the possibilities. A version of Barry Allen dies. Jay Garrick is left holding the suit. Now, we're talking about the comics. We're not talking about the TV show now. You know, think of the endless possibilities of all the characters that we're all playing for a convergence. I tell you, when I was watching the last part of that trifecta, the crossover, and that came up on the screen, I was like, no way! I didn't know they were building. I figured they were building toward a version of it at some point. But when they said, next year crossover, Crisis, I was like, wow! Okay. Now, I've been in conversations with Mark Guggenheim, obviously I'm in touch with Todd Helbing, and all those details are being worked out now. But I can't wait to see what they come up with, because they always keep us interested.
Can we just hopefully see you on a treadmill? So we have a question here from Superman.
Yes, sir.
Just really quick, I'm a big fan from the 90s Flash, and I was so happy that they decided to bring you back as Jay Garrick, because it wasn't originally in the first few episodes that you were Jay Garrick. Which character do you think is probably your favorite between the 90s Flash and Jay Garrick?
Who's your favorite child? That's what he's asking.
My favorite child. The character that I'm most curious about playing at this point of my life is Jay Garrick. I think it was 28 years ago. Barry Allen was age appropriate. It was a trip to come back. You know what was a trip to come back in the original suit? First of all, the technicians rebuilt that suit. They took the old crusty suit that was in the Warner Brothers vault, and they sent it to Vancouver, and Ocean Drive Leather and Kate Bain redesigned with new fabrics and materials. They didn't have to glue it to my face, and they made it look so good. And when I walked onto the set, if everyone had gone, okay, can we get this shot in the cans, because, I'm really hungry and it's dinner time. Well, I walked in, and Grant almost lost his mind. He was like, this is the coolest thing we've ever done! The only thing that kind of pissed him off a little bit was that Steven was in the Flash suit with my Flash. He wanted to be the Flash, so maybe, hopefully, at some point, we'll get to see that. What was your question?
Which one was your favorite between back in the day?
Which of the two Flashes?
It's been an amazing journey. I started out as Barry Allen. I did a brief detour through Zoom, so I've been myself, I've been my own worst enemy, I've been my father, and now I'm my mentor. I've gotten to look at this character and this universe from so many different angles, and each character has felt appropriate at the time. So I don't know if that answers your question. I wouldn't have missed Henry Allen for the world. I wouldn't have missed ushering Grant into assuming that role, knowing what his hopes and dreams were, knowing what some of the insecurities were, trying to just reflect back to him all of the incredible qualities that I saw in him that I knew would make him an incredible Flash for today. And people always ask, who's your Flash? I go into those threads and I say, Grant Gustin is my Flash.
So, being a fan of the original 90s, how much fun was it to bring Amanda Pays back to the new one? Because I really enjoyed the chemistry that you had in the original.
I love Amanda. We've done appearances together, conventions together. It's so much fun. At first she said, no, I don't want to do a Q&A. I don't really want to do a Q&A. I said, of course you're going to do a Q&A. She said, well, what are we going to say? I said, I'm going to say something really stupid, and you're going to take the piss out of me, just like you always do. Everyone will laugh, and we'll have a great time. Well, at the end of 45 minutes, we couldn't get her off the stage. She was having such a great time. But yeah, it was fun. There exists a scene with Henry Allen and Tina McGee in front of computers where we are really flirting with each other. It didn't make it in the final cut because of a timing issue, but I'm hoping that scene will show up, at some point.
Maybe after some sort of crisis.
Who knows?
So we have one question here.
So you've mentioned a couple of things about authenticity, sacred spaces, connecting to the people that you're working with. We are from Nowhereville Community Theater people, and that safe space and live theater, when you're playing off somebody and there's no redo, that's it, you got one chance. What role do you carry with you, or someone that you acted with, that you take with you always, like that's my favorite ever, and there's nothing can touch that. What do you carry with you?
I have to say that I had the good fortune to be at the right place at the right time when the American cast was auditioned and reblocked and redesigned and went into Broadway in Brian Friel's Dancing at Lunacy, which won the Tony that year for Best Drama. And I got to play Jerry Evans, the Welsh wastrel, and I so loved Jerry because in some ways he reminded me of myself. So at the top of his emotions a lot, he was aspirational, his aspirations far exceeded his accomplishments. For Jerry, I always felt he was always spinning plates. And he'd try to keep them all spinning, and inevitably they'd all crash to the ground. He'd laugh and start over. And I loved being a part of that production. When I saw the Irish cast do that play, when they were asking me to go into it, I left the theater a different person than I was when I went in. The same thing happened when I saw Night Mother, those long stretches of silence, and men were sobbing audibly in the audience. Another reason for doing conventions, we can all be having a good time on a soundstage, right? We can all think we're just, cute as bees, and think we're doing such a great time. But if we're only acting for ourselves, who cares? You don't get the audience reaction in the studio this is where we come to get the audience reaction. And that's why I say, I find out more about you guys than you find out about me. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm very grateful.
Okay, so I think we've got one last question here.
So, were you ever approached to do the role of Henry Allen in the Justice League movie? Also, what do you think about the version of Flash in the Justice League movie?
I was not approached. I was delighted when I heard that, his name has gone right out of my head. Who played him?
Ezra.
No, not Ezra, the father.
Oh.
Eric Bana.
Billy
Father,
Crudup.
Eric Bana.
Billy Crudup.
Billy Crudup. I've admired his work for years, and I was so pleased when I heard he was going to be Duke Henry Allen, because who better? And with a third of the material that they gave them for that prison scene, Grant and I had much more material, to work with. And with a third of the material, Crudup nailed it. Man, when he's the phone to his ear and he's still trying to communicate to his son, and the guards are taking him away, the fact that he could work that up that fast, my hat was off to him. I enjoyed Ezra Miller very much as a performer, and I look forward to seeing more of his Flash. I think they kind of shortchanged him in the DCU movie by using him as comic relief.
For sure.
At the point at which Aquaman said, "Oh, he's tripping over his own feet, he's tripping over my feet," I said, "Oh no, you did not do that to my Flash." I was at a convention recently in a Q&A, I said, "Well, Jason Momoa's right over there, you may want to go tell him." I said, "No way."
All right, so I think we're going to wrap, but we've got one thing that we wanted to mention. So first of all, I need to, on behalf of 18-year-old Ted, where the hell did all my hair go? And second of all, oh my God, I'm talking to